तेलुगु में कौन बोल रहे हैं? बोला इंग्लिश आता इधर पूरा तेलुगु चैनल है ना, उसके लिए बोल रहा हूँ। हाँ वही तेलुगु में कोई बोलते हैं, बोल रहा हूँ। बात करते हिंदी में, एक इंग्लिश में, एक तेलुगु में, बाद में बोलते हैं। अभी स्टार्ट कर लेते फिलहाल तो अब स्टार्ट। ये कोई स्टोरी बोली भाई जरा मंगा लो, माइक मंगा लो आप लोगों के। माइक लगते हैं आपके, माइक रख दो। ये वेल बर्थ इशू है, सबको मालूम है। वेल बर्थ इशू है। माइक मंगा लो।
हेलो 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 साइलेंस प्लीज। हेलो, गुड आफ्टरनून। I am the grandson of Nizam, Mir Milad Ali Khan, son of late Prince Imdad Jah Bahadur, and my cousin with me, Mir Usman Ali Khan. He is the son of late Mir Zulfikar Jah Bahadur. Both were grandsons of the erstwhile 7th Nizam, the last ruler of Hyderabad. And my cousin and me with the 7th Nizam extended family, a direct beneficiary of successor to his state. We take pride in maintaining the both sons apart from other siblings of the late 7th, included at the added part of the Constitution of India by the Nizam Trust Validation Act 1950 as part of Nizam merge into the Indian Union. We all, the direct descendant and successor of the 7th Nizam, have recognized Nawab Raunak Yar Khan as our 9th Nizam of the Asif Jahi dynasty to head and lead us, the descendant of 1 to 7 Nizam, and represent us throughout rightful legal claim involving government against land sharks, as well as false claimants still providing, masquerading and posing as titular 9th Nizam of Hyderabad, with right to much more than legal permits even till the date. The erstwhile Indian trust rule was still accorded to the titular address as a merge respect after losing power post formation of the Indian Union. Reneged the citizens by the Constitution of India. This titular formal address was till 1971, but this too was removed with all decorative division of inheritance, now a discipline. As princely Hyderabad state, it is had merged into India. In any case, the titular 8th Nizam was not a son of the earlier ruler in the power, which eliminate a claim of primogeniture as the binding rules of succession by the advantage seeker presently. This intentional discipline helps in conquering and shipping out funds generated on Indian soil by the small section of the family out of the Indian border. Hence, we feel completed to clarify to real estate investor, governments and real estate other, we are already representing in a pending A 1978 High Court judgment in Ahmadunisa versus Union of India. Case has its own fact to back us. The 8th Nizam son has filed a case against brother from the common father for a share under Indian law. We are already representative in OS number 61 to expose irregularities against the Indian government Niharika. The conference today is in public expression of satisfaction in our first successful step to representing our Nizam dynasty in a record of 2,724 acres of prime property in Kancha, Gachibowli, survey number 25 and 26. Our IA was accepted in Supreme Court and pending hearing on 28 October 2025. We as almost all the 7th and last final ruling Nizam dissident publicly as well as in the document reiterate our democratic recognition of the 9th Nizam of the Asifjar dynasty Nawab Raunak Yar Khan as our head of our residual dynasty, and that it is not a merely titular but functionally in representation. This was already done and signed on the 3rd March 2023, widely reported by a range of media and signed by overwhelming majority of the first to 6th Nizam dissident. We also feel proud to commit ourselves to betterment of the rest of our family that extended back in the time, as well as needy resident of our beloved city across faith. Thank you for us opportunity to express ourselves on behalf of the decedent and the beneficiary of the late 7th and the last ruler in power, HEH the Nizam Mir Usman Ali Khan Siddiqui. Thank you.
I am Raunak Yar Khan. Hope my introduction is clear by my cousin Milad, or it will be completed by my cousins Usman later on. Anyway, my cousins Milad and Usman, their father and father's siblings are mentioned by name by the last ruler, Usman Ali Khan, in trusts which were accepted as part of the constitution during the merger of the Asifjai dynasty dominion with the new Union of India as part of the Indian statute as conditions of the merger and can't be denied. Same as the properties set aside as private estates of the Nizam. Here too are differences between some categories of Nizam's estate that can be sorted out between the 7 Nizam descendants and the exclusively theirs, and what can be shared with the descendants of the earlier Nizams, with their families branching out. These 7th Nizam's descendants are descendants of the first Nizam downwards, from the ruling line. This gets complicated even for me and is best explained by a lawyer who is going to be here in the next 10 minutes, whose terminology is far more specific and more to the point, but will still need an explanation to the common man. Though he's a lawyer, I mean, again, the common public won't understand. This set of the Nizams, Nizam down from the 7th has backed me as their family head in the largest section. I mean, largest section meaning the biggest section of them, biggest section of the whole family, downwards from the 7 Nizam have backed me on paper as well as morally. There are a few people who have not backed me, but luckily for me, they are deadly against my opposition. So that's a big advantage to me. So dynasty is residual clan that can decide on their head in a democratic way, in a democratic India now. So when I say I'm the 9th Nizam of the Asif Jah dynasty, dynasty is the family or the clan of the royal erstwhile ruling family, erstwhile Nizams. In Islam too, from the earliest time, the democratic concept was the only suggestion. No other form of succession is discussed. Though a father in power is likely to prefer their children even when in power. Children when in power. Suppose I am the king. Logically, I'd want one of my children to be the next my successor or Nizam, but it's not so in Islam. It's not like that. In Islam, like the Prophet, his father-in-law became the successor through ijma. Ijma is a consensus, which is again a public kind of a choice and choice of the important people around at that time. The people who matter, the people who are respected. The last Nizam and the first Nizam preferred their grandchildren. There's the finest example of there being no primogeniture, because the first and last Nizam both nominated their grandsons. So meritocracy was encouraged, as well as gender neutrality in forms that can be seen from the founder Nizam. Proud to say, on Islam's founder prophet's passing ijma or consensus was a mode of choice as a successor, called Khalifa. I mean, the successor was called Khalifa. So he was a father-in-law. In the next few successions too, after the first Khalifa, the second and third was also through primogeniture as a choice, portraying forms of democracy. This shows that Islam was democratic from the earliest time. I mean, from the time of the Prophet. I mean, there was no, before that there was no precedent of a succession. Nizams, being the progeny of the first Khalifa, respected this rule. The first Nizam, please take note, the first Nizam preferred his daughter, Khairunisa's son Muzaffar, over his own lesser popular 6 sons, due to Muzaffar's acceptability and popularity in the influential community heads that mattered at that time, including the population under them, his whatever. Yet the seat was grabbed by a second son of the founder, delaying the grandson's stint on the throne. After that, there was a third son also who ruled 11 years, and the fourth son was the fifth on the seat. Fifth on the seat, he got declared as the second Nizam. For some reason, before the second Nizam, there were 3 more, all bloodline of the first Nizam, but they're mentioned in history, but nobody tries to understand why they were not, given titles. One clear thing is the Mughals were weakened. Neither those 3 wanted the titles, and they had come into power through the French. And if they came through power through the French, the titles given by the Mughals were of actually no consequence. So that is one of my suggestions. I'm going to pay for some research on this, at some point of time. So, the history should be very clear why those 3 are not mentioned. They are part of the family and they form the dynasty. And yet they talk about 7 Nizams. Actually, the 7th Nizam would have been the 10th. I say throne. In some cases, those 3 were on the throne, I'm saying, because they were not given the title of Asif Jah. They were not given the title of Nizamul Mulk. Those titles were meant to signify that those people were Subedars of the Mughals. That means they were in a way subordinate to the overlord Mughals. So those 3 don't have the title and they ruled. If they ruled, then they are monarchs. So they should be given the rightful place in history. I say, that's why I say throne to them, and the rest of them I say seat. And the seat I'm talking about is from the 3rd Nizam, 4th Nizam, then the 5th, who was Afzal ad-Dawla. He became again a monarch, starting from a Subedar, which is a governor of the Mughals. He became a the independent king, because the British exiled Bahadur Shah Zafar as the last Mughal to Rangoon after the Sepoy Mutiny in 1856, I think. 1857 he was exiled. So once he was exiled, the Nizams became totally independent and they became absolute monarchs. So after which Mehboob Ali Khan, who is my great-grandfather, he was a complete monarch from birth. He was born in a monarch family. He started ruling from 2.5 years of age. He ruled till about 42 years, and he died a monarch. And after that, it's Usman Ali Khan, the sixth Nizam, His Highness, His Exalted Highness. He's the only one with the distinction of his HEH. The others are HH. And he ruled till 1948, till the invasion of the Indian Army, which finished off the princely state of India. After that, he became a titular ruler. And he was a titular ruler. He nominated his grandson, who was merely titular till 1971. And in 71, even the titular designation was removed. So that made it completely void. The whole dynasty kind of closed down. Formally. I mean, informally in your house, you can do what you want, but formally it's all over. So they mostly use and these people were not mentioned because they used the French to gain the seat. I'm talking about the first Nizam's children. First Nizam's children. After him was a second son who kind of usurped the throne against his father's wishes, though he was in jail for trying to destroy his father. Usurp the throne while his father was alive. So when his father died, he was the only one around and he grabbed the throne. But then the grandson came and displaced him, and the second son was killed, and the grandson ruled for some time. And after which I told you the third son, his name was Salabat, he ruled for 11 years, then he was killed by the last son who was Nizam Ali Khan, who got the title of second Nizam. Anyway, that's going too much into history, but I'm saying it for a certain reasons, because it's, after all, we are talking about the Nizams and talking about the subject. The subject is actually the Kancha Gachibowli property, which is actually meant to be the families, and the government, the Telangana state government, was clearing it off the forest, which is totally unfair because it doesn't even belong to them. And now the matter is in Supreme Court, and we've been, our IA has been taken up by the Supreme Court. So the hearing, they'll give some kind of a direction, maybe a direction to sort it out, and once the Supreme Court gives a direction, the local courts will have to sort it out, because local courts are the authority to decide on ownership. So right now in Supreme Court, the point is not the ownership, it's about whether the forest can be cleared without permissions, and it's a very wide kind of a thing, not focusing so much on ownership. So we hope to get that thing in our hand, and maybe with that make some kind of a understanding where the public gets something, the wildlife gets something, the college, the University Hyderabad Central gets something, our family gets something, our family from the first to sixth Nizams, who are a distinct group. And the thing is, their paperwork is very weak. So they cannot, right now they are not in a position to fight for their rights, because the papers are not in order. And that takes some time for it to come in order, and then they can take up the cases on their own. In the meantime, is the magnanimity of the 7 Nizam children who've kind of decided, between me and some of them, I don't know, it should be unanimous, but at this point, some of them have decided to, help out with whatever money we get or whatever funds we get to help out the 1 to 6 who are representatives of the previous Nizam, because you understand the whole property came to the 7 Nizam. So 7 Nizam is confirmed in the government of India. And as his successors, the children of the 7 Nizam who are listed with the central government are confirmed. And through that, sitting on my left and right are the children of the grandchildren of the Nizam, and they have a very strong, very, what do you call it, perfect case. It's very unlikely that they'll be rejected. So we hope to get something out of that land, and we want to help out the 1 to 6 also. And we know the 1 to 6, they have some papers and they belong to a society which they are very proud about, but the society is only limited to that society or to that trust, which is for their benefit. Outside that trust, I don't know if they have recognition, and they might take a long time, and they are something like 3,000-4,000 in numbers. So that's logistically very difficult to get each one on record in the court and fight. So I decided to fight as some kind of a, arrow. Arrow meaning making a precedent of myself, because my mother and my grandmother are again listed with the central government, and that makes my case very strong. And we are very close to the Nizam, because grandmother was his own sister. So he, in his trusts and all that will, she's mentioned very clearly. So that also will take time to convince the court, and courts are very, very slow. The fastest track is the seven Nizams' descendants, because nobody can deny them their rights. So I have decided to back them in every way with my contacts, my finances and everything. So they win. And once they win, they are ready to give something all around to the rest of the family, as well as the citizens of Hyderabad, whoever I need to help them out in whichever way. As you know, I've already been, my favorite subject is unity between communities. I've got a PhD for that, which I don't mention because I want to do it in a casual way. I have parties for Holi, which is a Hindu festival, and Sankrantri. I have been doing it for the last 45 to 50 years. I mean, initially, obviously, my parents financed me. Later on, I was doing it on my own, and now I do it as a brotherhood thing, to prove brotherhood between communities and they can be happy together. So that function is about the biggest in Hyderabad. It was bigger than the governor's function, and it was reported widely as it was my own. But now there are commercial functions happening which, with sell tickets, get celebrities and all that, and they advertise in the papers. And in a reciprocal way, the papers give them more kind of importance by talking about them. So anyway, but that's my background. Okay, then I'll have to figure out where I left off. I seem to be way off the subject of Kancha Gachibowli. It's deforestation by the state government and the rightful owners of the Kancha, which is a central subject today. Leaving that estate dispute aspect with legal minds, far more capable here with me, who are arriving now. I'm filling up a press time slot with some history, not generally told, but there is a reason, as this info will help many in the royal concerned family with this to understand on the ongoing situation. Like the last Nizam was the 10th, I told you, I've already covered that. Okay, that part is over. So just a little bit more is there. The problem with writing is first and then saying it orally is that things get repeated, All that I've said till now is not in vain. I wanted to actually project that the most easily accepted beneficiaries of the Nizam's estate are the seven Nizam's descendants. I'm repeating this, as the records are far clearer, far clearer. Okay, anyway, I'll skip that. No. And the records are in the merger agreement. Okay, I'll also tell you this. See, this property is part of something called a blue book, which is part of a merger agreement between the Nizam's dominion, which merged with the Union of India. When they merged, it was decided what will be the Nizam's, and it was signed by the President of India with an assurance. So that book contains this property, which is about, you must have heard about 450 acres belonging or near Hyderabad Central University, fought because the central government was trying to clear the forest. Actually, that is part and parcel of a 2,724 or something, I'm not good with numbers, but it's 2,724 plus minus 1 or 2 acres, which is massive. It must be like lakhs of crores. And so that forms part of one of the Blue Book properties. So we are fighting for that. So that's one of the things I want to clarify, where we are coming from. And that's why I told you why all this merger and the first Nizam, second Nizam, and the merger and all that. I told you mainly because I wanted to give you the value of this Blue Book. So we also know that the last Nizam, he nominated his grandson, skipping the idea of primogeniture, which was never there because even the first Nizam didn't have it. The Prophet did not have it. I told you his successor was a Khalifa, was his father-in-law. The Prophet himself, if you really see it by default, his bloodline is through his daughter. And so a lot of, there are lot of myths circulated. So we have to now go by Indian law, which recommends Sharia to the people living in India as long as you are Muslim. And like I told you, the Nizam nominated his grandson, and the grandson was merely titular. And when the titular titles were abolished in 71, there's nothing. There's no titular, nothing, and there's no Hyderabad. To begin with, princely Hyderabad merged with India in 1948. So once it's merged, there's no Hyderabad also. So the very idea of trying to say I'm Nizam of Hyderabad is absurd. At least like my cousins are trying to say I'm the Nizam of the Asif dynasty. Dynasty meaning their family, which they have a right to choose in a democratic way, in a democratic India. So I don't know how many more times I have to make that clear. So after, okay, that part is over.
So lucky for you, that lawyer who is coming now, we called him because he speaks Telugu, and I believe most of the people in this room are from the Telugu press. So he'll be a big help once he comes here. So anyway, I'm telling you, like, because of this difficulty of the paperwork of the other families, I moved ahead with the 7 Nizam. I've already covered that also. And whenever we get something out of it, we'll make sure that the 1 to 6 children who are distinct, and they all belong to a certain trust called the, anyway, I'm forgetting the name. It's a Sarfakhaz trust, Sahibzadas or Sarfakhaz, something like that. And they belong to that. So they will definitely benefit from all this, that I'm assuring them. And another thing is, a lot of them, in their case, hundreds, thousands of them have signed me in formal and informal papers also as their head, as the 9th Nizam of their dynasty too also. And so I'm assuring them that whoever signed, they will benefit more than the people who have not signed. And I have my own personal properties also. I assure it on my passing, I'll make sure that, I'll benefit somebody, right? It's very logical because I don't have a family, I'm still single. So whenever I pass, something of mine will go to them. So one thing is very clear, that I've already been giving them things without receipt. I've been giving them all around, but I don't take receipts because it's for my family. When you distribute things, you don't take receipts for it. So anyway, even apart from, and they know it, at least 1,000 of them have received something, and they know that I'm just giving from my side and not taking anything. So even when I pass away, I'll definitely leave something, which is logical, right? Whoever backs me, because who else will I leave it to? So that is another point I wanted to make. And so we are moving ahead with this case, and so I'll end with that now. I said, for the last time, I would like to benefit the community of Hyderabad. I mean, that community of Hyderabad means it's across faiths, across, anything. Across any, sects, or you can say across, whatever. I mean, you got the picture. I don't want to say across religions because, I don't even want that to even crop up. I mean, I don't even consider that. So I'll end with that now because I think it'll be just a repetition. And there's a lot more to say about the history, but that's another subject for another day. I just said some of it which is relevant today, and in a very brief way, and that was also required to understand the uniqueness of a thing, uniqueness between the 7 Nizam descendants and the descendants of the 1 to 6. The power and the properties had moved to 7th, which is very obvious. So the 7th have a larger right. I've repeated that. If you can censor part of it, I'll be very obliged. So I'll end with that now. I'm Ronak Yar Khan. Thank you very much. The Nizam, the last Nizam, Mir Usman Ali Khan, had 16 sons. And he had 16 sons and 18 daughters. On my left and right are the sons of those 16 and of the 34 siblings. 34 siblings who are the Nizam's children. Thank you. Now, if you wait, it'll be nice to wait for the person we've called who speaks in Telugu, and he's a lawyer. He's fighting the case, so he'll cover the subject which you are more keen on knowing about the Nizam's property, Nizam's estate. So he'll be coming now. And another good thing is, this subject has been headlines earlier. It was like front page news with all the deforestation taking place on 450 acres, which is not a small thing. It was very debated. People were protesting, so it was really in the news. So if you want to ask any more questions about it, more technical questions about the legal papers. Legal papers are the ones which cover the revenue records and all that, which are presently available today. They are also in the name of the Nizam. Apart from the blue book, which categorically states that this belongs to Nizam, and he'll tell you the page number, he'll tell you the section and all that. So if you wait for 5-10 minutes, it'll be worth your wait. I just hope you just have that patience with me. And I'm also asking the 1 to 6 people to be patient with me because they'll benefit. There's no way I can prove anything, but they know very well I've been doing a lot already and never taken anything in return. And whatever I've said till now is that I will add to their fortunes. I've never stopped them from going anywhere. They're free to go where they want, do what they want, fight with anyone they want to. All I've got them to write to me is saying, and the agreement is that whatever I can benefit them by, I will add to their fortunes. That's all. Nobody is stopping them anyway. So I can't, take any advantage of them. And when I go, definitely the people who are still signatories with me, even if I don't manage anything, they will still be beneficiaries. And they'll also benefit. Once they get the papers organized and they file a case, if it's accepted by the court, the seventh will obviously have no objection because it will be accepted by the court. That is their good luck or good fortune. So I'll end with that now, I suppose. Thank you very much.
Hello.